All right, blessings, and shalom to you and your family too. So good to see you all tonight. So grateful to be here once again. Y'all has given us another opportunity to look at the book, y'all. We're grateful. We're grateful to Yah for this opportunity. And if you can do me a favor, if you can go ahead and thumb up the video, guys, thumb up the video, and then share the live if you can. All right, thumb up the video. Go ahead and do it really quick. If you're watching on your phone, or if you're watching on your computer, your iPad, your tablet, go ahead and thumb up the video and share the live. I know some people are watching on their TVs. It may be difficult for you to do that, but if you are watching by way of electronic device other than your TV, uh, go ahead and thumb up the video and share the live family. All right. It is going down tonight, y'all. I feel very motivated uh, and inspired to deal with the subject matter tonight. And I'm looking forward to getting it in tonight, y'all. We're gonna deal with um, some very interesting, we always deal with interesting stuff. Um, you're not gonna get, you know, from me, 5 ways to heal your marriage. If you just do the commandments, we humble down and be obedient to the word, submit to the Father, allow the Ruach to lead us, and just remember Yeshua's sacrifice for us, guys. And then read the word together. Read the word together. That's going to heal your marriage. Read the word, agree to do what the Torah says. Now, there are some issues in relationships. And I guarantee it goes back to no spiritual intimacy. No spiritual intimacy. And so we got to deal with that. We got to deal with, and so I'm not gonna, you know, tell you 5 ways to, you know, get rich. No, 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 no. That's not the essence of what we are called to understand about our faith. Um, and so you're gonna go here. This is where we're going. We're gonna go to the core of why many people lose their faith. We're gonna go to the core of that. We're going to go to the core of why many people do not believe when times get difficult. We're going to go to the core of why people give up when Abiyah is testing their faith. All right. And it boils down to a lack of understanding of who Yah is, who the Most High is. And I'm going to deal with that. We've been dealing with this for the last month. And I set out to show you in the book of Mark that in each chapter in the book of Mark, um, we have uh, somewhere where the writer in each chapter authenticates and brings to light the understanding that Yeshua is not just a prophet. He wasn't just a good man. Um, he wasn't just a good teacher, but that he's divine. All right. And if Yeshua is divine, then he's eternal. The scriptures clearly say, by him were all things made. That should seal the deal, right? But for some people, for some reason, many people, you guys pay attention to this, many people allow their doctrine to blind their eyes from the clear reading of the text. And so I decided to pull off a little bit, to take a break. Not too far, but let's go to Colossians chapter 2, 9. Colossians chapter 2, and we're going to look at verse 9 because I want to show you guys something tonight. Colossians 2, and we're going to look at verse number 9. Colossians 2. Guys, while you're finding that scripture, can you go ahead and thumb up the video? Thumb up the video and share the live. Thumb up the video, guys, and share the live, if you will, while we turn to the book of Colossians, chapter 2, and we're going to look at verse number 9. All right, go ahead and thumb up the video, share the live, guys. Share it on your, on all your platforms. I'm going to do that too, as well. All you need to do is just click on the link, go to your platform and paste it in as a post. And we want to get the word out, guys. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to hear the word tonight. All right. So go ahead and thumb up the video and share the live while I get this going, guys. And make sure you're turning to the book of Colossians, chapter 2. And we're going to jump right in this Torah teaching. Right? Hopefully everyone had a wonderful, beautiful day resting today, guys. And we're gonna, all right. So guys, go ahead and again, thumb up the video, do me that favor, and then I want you to share the live. All right, here we go. Colossians chapter 2. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 9. Actually, let's start in verse 8. Let's start in verse 8. I don't know what. Oh, there it is. Huh. There it is. Okay. All right. Colossians chapter 2, verse 9. The word of Yah reads, actually, verse 8. Sorry, verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit after the tradition of men. So look what Paul is talking about. He's writing to Colossae, the churches in Colossae. And Paul knows that there are a lot of different teachings that can turn someone's mind, I shouldn't say someone, but turn a believer's mind away from the true teachings of Torah. All right? So Paul understands this. So he said, let no one deceive you. He says, I don't want you to be deceived. I don't want you to be tricked. I don't want you to misunderstand anything. I want you to make sure you're sober-minded. He says, because there are people who, whether knowingly or unknowingly, they will spoil or ruin your faith. He says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after the Messiah. Verse 9, for in him. Now, who is that? Who is the in him? Well, it's talking about the Messiah. Paul is talking about the Messiah here. And so, guys, I want you to understand this. These words that Paul are about to say in verse 9 is causing all kinds of disunity in the body because someone is against the word Trinity. That's blocking your understanding from what the scriptures teach. Come on and go with me here. Let me say that one more time. Because you are against Christianity, you are against the word Trinity, it is blinding us from being able to see and understand clearly what the scriptures teach. Plain and simple. Watch what he says. For in him, who is he talking about in him? The Messiah. He's talking about the Messiah. Dwells or dwelleth. We're going to get into this word in the Greek, into the grammar. And see, this is why many people are confused, guys, because they do not study in depth when it comes to the grammar. And then those who do study in depth, they can't agree with the plain reading of the scriptures because their doctrine is blinding them. Watch this. For in him, who are we talking about? The Mashiach, Yeshua, dwelleth, we're going to get into this word in this grammar, how much of the fullness of the Godhead? All of it. All of it. The fullness of the Godhead. Now we're going to deal with this word Godhead bodily. That's powerful. And that's saying something. Paul is saying a whole lot. Now, this is very interesting. We're going to get into this. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. Why? Oh, man. When Paul uses this word, for in him dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead. When Paul uses this word Godhead, we're going to take a look at that in depth. We're going to go deep. All right. Now, let's turn to the book of, I believe, yes, John chapter 14. John, it's not that one. John chapter 14. Here are my notes here. This word is actually the Godhead, actually. These are my notes. So I don't want to leave this. I'm going to go into another. Why does it keep going to that? Oh, something's going on with mine. Give me a second, y'all. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why this is doing that. Give me a second. That's interesting. Okay. So we'll just go here then. We'll stay here. John, what did I say? John 14:28. Okay. John 14. So you got what he said in Colossians, what Paul said. Now let's see what John says in John 14:28. I want you guys to pay attention here because this is where the confusion lies. So we just read in Colossians where Paul said, in the Messiah, in Yeshua, dwelleth the fullness of the Godhead bodily. All right. Here's where the confusion comes in. John 14:28. You have heard how I said unto you, I go away. This is Yeshua speaking, and come again unto you. If you loved me, you would rejoice because I said, I go to the Father. Watch this. Then he says this, for my Father is greater than I. This is where the confusion comes in. How do you reconcile John 14:28 and other passages like John 14:28 that shows Yeshua in a subordinate position to the Father? How do you reconcile that with scriptures like Colossians 2:9, which says that Yeshua has the same divine nature as the Father? How do you reconcile that? Well, we're going to do that tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about the role versus the essence of Yeshua HaMashiach. Now, guys, let me say this from the start. Many people, when they're reading the scripture, not only does doctrine and the tradition of men get in the way of their understanding what the scriptures teach, but they confuse the role of Yeshua on earth with his essence. They confuse those two. And so we have many passages that talk about the role of Yeshua being submissive to the Father. It's kind of like this. Let me explain. In a marriage, you have a husband and a wife, a male and a female. Come on and go with me. I have to be very clear. All right. And in that marriage, the husband is called to love his wife like Yeshua loved the church. But guess what? The wife is not called to do that. Does that mean she shouldn't love the husband? No, that's not. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. The husband is called to love his wife like Yeshua loved the church. The woman's not called to, the wife is not called to do that. But what is the wife called to do? She is called to submit to her head. Come on and go with me, y'all. The husband's not called to submit to the wife as the head. Now, let me ask you this. Are they equal before Yah? Do they have the same essence as a husband and a wife? Of course they do. But their roles are different. Come on and go with me. And because they have different roles, it does not mean that they are not equal in who they are and their essence as humans. Well, in the same way, we have a distinction between the role of Yeshua being different and in a subordinate position to the Father, but even in that subordinate role, come on and go with me, the essence is still the same based on Colossians 2:9 and many other scriptures. Are y'all with me? That's where the confusion lies with many. Now, I'm going to deal with one passage that says, through him, all things were made. This is going to be deep, y'all. Listen. And it's in the same book of Colossians. So let's go to Colossians, or I should say back to Colossians. All right? We're going to go back to Colossians. We're going to go to chapter 1. So Colossians 1. Let's start at verse 15. No. Let's start verse 13. Actually, we gotta back up. Man, we gotta go all the way back. Excuse me. Just want to make sure that, you know what? We're going to start in 13. Watch this, guys. So we just read in John 14:28 that Yeshua out of his own mouth said, the Father is greater than me. Guys, he was talking about his role and not his essence. Watch this. Colossians 1:13 says this, who hath delivered us from the power of darkness and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son. It's very interesting because many people will try and attempt to make an argument to say, well, he never talks about the kingdom of Yeshua. He just talks about the kingdom of God. Well, that's true. He does talk about the kingdom of God, but right here in Colossians 1:3, he says the kingdom of his dear Son. Are y'all with me? Now, who is that? Who is he talking about? the only begotten, Yeshua HaMashiach. All right, so we know that he is the subject. Now watch this, verse 14. In whom, in Yeshua HaMashiach, we have redemption through whose blood? His blood, even the forgiveness of sins. Watch this. Who? Now who are they talking about? Yeshua is the image of the invisible Most High Yah. Come on, go with me. The firstborn of every creature. For by him, watch this, y'all. If you're confusing verse 15 and you think, oh, it said firstborn, see, he was the firstborn of every creature. That means that God created him. That's not what that means. Come on, go with me here. That is not what that means. We're going to get to that later on in the lesson. But watch 16. For by him, who? Yeshua, were all things created. Well, what do you mean all things? All things. All things that are on all things that are on earth and all things that are in heaven. All things were created by him. So you mean before the earth was created, come on and go with me, y'all. Yeshua was in existence? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me read that one more time. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones, dominions, or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. Now, before we go too far, this is very interesting. Let's go back to this beginning part of verse 16. For by Yeshua were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth. Now let's stop right there. Oh, visible and invisible. Let's stop. And let me say this again. You at least, okay, before we say that, let's throw out all of our doctrine. Let's throw out all of our bias. Let's just throw it out. And let's just read the text for what it says. For by Yeshua were all things created. Now, that will have to mean that if all things were created by Yeshua, then he's outside of the things that are created. Can we agree to that? If all things were created by him, then he's outside of everything that was created. Can we agree to that? Put a 1 in the chat if we can agree to that. Put a 1 in the chat if we can agree to that. Guys, go ahead and thumb up the video. Guys, if you're enjoying this teaching, if you're interested in it, you're intrigued, you are captivated, your attention is captured, guys, go ahead and put a thumb up the video, guys. Thumb up the video and share the live. So let me say it one more time, then we're going to move on. Again, if all things were created by Yeshua, then he's outside of everything that was created. And if he is outside of everything that was created, that means that he was there before creation. Are y'all with me? That's very clear. Now, if he was there before creation, that means that he's in eternity. Come on, go with me here. Now, the only beings that are present before creation are not only eternal, but they're divine. Come on, go with me. All right. The confusion comes when people misunderstand the role, again, the role of Yeshua versus his essence and equality in nature. Again, chapter 2, verse 9. For in Yeshua dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. We're going to get into that. Y'all ready? Let's go. Let's go. Fair use. Everything that we say here is covered in the Copyright Act of 1976, which allows us the fair use of any type of materials for the purposes of teaching, scholarship, research, etc., etc. Let's go. Let's get it in. Here we go, guys. The distinction, as I said earlier, between Yeshua's role and we're going to call that functional subordination, right? Yeshua's role is to be functionally in submission and subordinate to the Father. John 14:28. Father's greater than me. I'm submitting. I recognize his authority over me in his role, not his essence. Are y'all with me? And his essence or divine nature is a foundational concept, listen, guys, that was first taught in Torah, not the New Testament. Come on and go with me here. Let's consider passages that demonstrate how Yeshua's role is subordinate to the Father, while his essence, on the other hand, is the same as the Father's, divine. Come on, let's go. Now, let's go back to our verse. Colossians chapter 2 and verse number 9. So we're going to look at this. For in him dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead body. Let's break that down. Let's break it down, y'all. In the Greek, hote in auto katoike, panto pleroma tes theotetas somatikos. All right. Now, what does all that mean? Well, it simply means for in him dwells all the fullness of the deity bodily. They call it the Godhead in the English, but this word Godhead can also be translated, theotetos, can be translated as deity. All right. And watch this. Let's go. Let's get it in. So when he says, for in him dwells, all right, katoike. In the Greek, you know what? I want to show it to you. I wrote it right here, but I'm going to prove to you right now that when it says that all the fullness of the Godhead dwells in him bodily, watch this now. He's saying that this word katoike, it means to live, to inhabit, to reside, but it's permanently. Why is it permanently, Pastor? Because of the present tense. Oh, yes, the present tense. This verb is in the present tense. So it doesn't mean that the fullness of Yah dwells for a short time or while he's on earth or only when he's in heaven. It means that it is continuously dwelling in Yeshua HaMashiach. Now let's check it out. Let's prove it. Let's go to the text. So we can see up here, hote in auto katoike panto pleroma tes theotetos somatikos. This is very important, guys. These words and the grammar in these words, where Paul was using them. Paul, listen, guys, Paul was not just speaking. He was declaring truth to the, watch this, to people who are new believers, and he wanted them to understand exactly who the Messiah is. So let's go to Katoike. And let's go to the grammar first. So we have present. Let's look and see what present tense means. You guys know what it means, but I want to show you. It represents a simple statement of fact. Wait, was that present or active? Yeah, that's present. It's a simple statement of fact or reality. So, guys, listen, the reality and the matter of the fact is that within Yeshua dwelleth the deity. And we're going to look at that word, Godhead, theotetos, in a second. Bodily, it dwells in him. But watch this. It dwells in him how often? Continuously. Okay. Just go ahead and read this. This is very interesting. In most cases, this corresponds directly with the English present tense. Some phrases which might be rendered as past tense in the English will often occur in the present tense in the Greek language. These are termed historical present. And such occurrences dramatize the event, describe it, or describe as the reader were there watching the event occur. All right. So this word katoike is saying that the fullness of the Godhead is dwelling in Yeshua permanently, continuously in the present tense. Right? Again, this fullness is living there. It inhabits him. It resides permanently with him. When did it start dwelling in him? Because we're talking about this word, they use the word so what is it again? Somatikos. It's bodily, it's in his body. When did the fullness begin to dwell in the body that he took on? I can give you a passage. I'm not going to go there, but you can go there. You can write this down. Isaiah 9:6. For unto us a child is born, a son is given. His name shall be called, or he is the wonderful counselor, the mighty God, the everlasting Father. The fullness started dwelling in Yeshua HaMashiach at birth. Come on and go with me, because it's bodily. All right? Let's go. Now, the second part. Hote in auto katoike, we dealt with that. Panto pleroma tes theotetos. Very deep. Tes theotetos. Somatica. This is very deep, guys. We're going to look at this word pan. It is very simple. It's all. It means the whole, the entirety. Watch. No part of the fullness is lacking. I see a hand. Go ahead and type your question in the chat, guys. You can go ahead and type your question in the chat. Hopefully the chat, I think the chat is up. Yep. Guys, go ahead and the chat is live. If you have a question, guys, I'm happy to answer. You can go ahead and type your question in the chat. Okay. Or maybe, did I put that up on accident? All right. So watch this. Let's get back to it. Let's go back. This word, we looked at pan already. Okay. We looked at pan. Pan is the word all. Okay. Right here. All simply means the whole, the entirety. No part of the fullness is lacking. No part. All. It simply means all. Okay. Now let's look at to pleroma. To pleroma. The fullness. Now, this is very interesting because this word fullness, pleroma, it means completeness, totality, signifying something that is entirely filled or whole. Okay? So listen to this. The fullness is dwelling permanently, continuously, and watch this. It's not just a part of the Most High, it's all of him. All of his divinity is within is within Yeshua, and it's dwelling with him right now, permanently within the body. Now, Paul is teaching this in Colossians 2:9. Paul is teaching this even after the fact that Yeshua has already been crucified, died, and rose again bodily. So watch this, y'all. Even in death, the fullness, oh my goodness, I feel like preaching. The fullness was still dwelling in Yeshua HaMashiach. Boy, listen. Oh my gosh. That's powerful. There's nothing you can say to argue against that. That's what the text says. It's plain in the language, and you cannot refute it. But what happens is many people confuses and they're blinded by number one, their doctrinal stance. The word Trinity, I haven't used the word Trinity all night, and I'm not, and I never will, because we don't have to. We don't have to use a second, third, fourth century Johnny come lately word to describe what Paul, come on and go with me here, in the first century already understood, not based on the New Testament, not based on apocryphal writings, but based on the Tanakh. Come on and go with me. Let me take that back. I shouldn't say it's not based on Tanakh, okay? I shouldn't say it's not based on apocryphal writings or what is called apocryphal writings, okay? But it's not based on a Johnny come lately word that someone had to figure out, well, how do we describe this? Oh, Trinity. Let's use our Tertullian said, let me use my understanding of other trinities that exist, and I'll just take that to simply apply it. We didn't need Tertullian's contribution in that. We got Tanakh, and we don't need any other understanding. Now, somebody may be thinking, well, how do we know it comes from Tanakh? Because those are the only scriptures that Yeshua, his disciples, and all the believers had during the time that Yeshua lived. Paul, I believe, wrote his first book maybe 20 to 30 years after the resurrection. I can't remember which book it was, but the first writings were done by Paul 20 to 30 years after the resurrection. So there was no New Testament for at least 30 years after. So what were they reading? Tanakh. So he says the fullness. Now let's deal with this. What was dwelling in him? Let's deal with what was dwelling in him. Tes theotetos. Come on and go with me, y'all. Tes theotetos. First of all, in a grammatical sense, it's in the genitive. Very important. Very important. Look down here at the bottom of the screen in this last sentence. See where I'm highlighting? Genitive. Well, what does genitive, first of all, mean? Oh, I'm so glad. Guys, I'm so grateful for Paul for writing in a way that he did. Goodness. Because Paul uses his grammatical expertise to communicate precisely that what is dwelling in Yeshua HaMashiach, it belongs to him. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me calm down. The genitive reinforces that the fullness that's dwelling in Yeshua, it belongs to him. All right. Now let's get into what theotetos actually means. Well, let me just show you that it's in the genitive first, so you can see. So you can see, like, through looking at this grammatical research, or if you know Greek, you could just look at the ending. Okay, so first of all, you have the definite article, taste, and these last two letters shows that it's genitive. Now watch this. What else is genitive? Toss is genitive. The last two letters are in the genitive form. So you have the article and the subject sharing the same grammatical structure, right? So let's look at this genitive here and see what genitive means. The genitive case refers to a case used for a noun, a pronoun, or an adjective to show description or possession. His disciples, all right, showing that the disciples belong to who? Yeshua, all right? So we have that. I wanted to show you that because we're gonna go somewhere now. But here's a question I had while I was studying this. Why does Paul use theotetos in the genitive? I mean, are there any other words that Paul could have used? Absolutely. But why do you choose to use this one? Let's go here. Pay attention to this chart. So over here we have the Greek word. We have three different Greek words. Okay. We have theoites. You see that? Theoites. We have theotes, and then we have our word that Paul uses, theotetos. Now, the meaning of theoites, why wouldn't he use this one? I mean, the meaning means divine nature, divine attributes, but this word is weaker than the word theotetos because it only describes the attributes of the deity. It doesn't assign, come on and go with me, the attributes to Yeshua, but it simply highlights that there are attributes that are being paid attention to. For example, let's go to Romans 1:20. Oh man, this is the kind of study that we have to engage into before we come to conclusions about who Yeshua is. Right? So again, Romans 1:20. Watch this. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power. And look at this. Now watch this. Watch what word he uses here, though. Watch what word he uses for Godhead. Theoites. You see that? Theoites. Again, dealing with attributes. Well, what were the attributes that Paul was referring to here? And here's a bigger question. Why wouldn't he use theotetos, showing possession? Because it doesn't make sense in the context. Okay? So we have here theoites, referring to the attributes. Well, what are the attributes in verse 20? His eternal power. Okay. That's one. And if you look in the context of this entire chapter, you can pick out other attributes. Okay. For example, if you look in verse 18, for the wrath of Yah is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. So this wrath is an attribute. Okay. And again, if you go through the entire chapter of Romans 1, you can pull out all the different attributes of the Most High. But Paul didn't use that word. Paul didn't use theoites. Let's go to Job 33 and see if we can bring it out a little bit more. Job 33. And I believe it was verse 12, if I'm not mistaken. Job 33:12. Oh, I'm glad I went to this verse. I want to show you something. Job 33:12. Behold, in this thou art not just. I will answer thee that God, watch this, that the Most High is greater than man. Now watch this. Listen to the logic. People say, well, Yeshua was a man. Fallacy, because he wasn't just a man. And this word man, watch this. Let's go to the Hebrew. See, guys. Look at this word. Ma'inosh. This particular word for man is different from Adam. Watch this. This man, mortal, man, person, mankind, of an individual, of men collectively, it could be used, or man or mankind. Okay. But it's look at this, mortal man. Yeshua was not simply a mortal man. All right. So false statement on behalf of all of those who argue that Yeshua is simply a man. But this text says that God is greater than man. That's one of his attributes, that he has more power, that he's, let's look and see what word is used for greater. Okay. Year bay. Year bay, right? The root word is rava. So let's see what greater means here. Okay. Be or become great, be or become many, be or become much, be or become numerous. To become many, become numerous, multiple of people, of animals, of things. To be or grow great. In the Pael, to make large, to enlarge, to increase, become many. The hifil, to make much. The hifil is the passive, to make much, to make many, to have many, multiply, increase. Now, what we would have to do is we would have to go back to find out over here in the grammar, because which one do we pick? Oh, look at the stem. It's in the call. So that gives us an idea of which particular word. So here's the call right here. Okay. So again, you can't just pick any of these definitions. All right. So we went back, we looked at, we said, oh, it's in the call stem. It's using the call stem. So our understanding should be according to these two definitions here. We can't just pick any of these definitions. It's not in the Pael. It's not in the Hifil. Okay. The Pael is intense. It's an intense form of the call, but the Hifil is in the passive, right? So that's one of his attributes. Okay. Now let's continue. I want to show you one more word. Theotes. He didn't use this word either. However, this word is the root of theotetos. Theotetos. This is the root. But this word, watch this, it's different from theotes. Theotes is talking about attributes of the deity. Theotes is talking about the entire being or essence of Yah or the Most High. Let's go to Exodus 3 and 14. We know these verses. Okay. Exodus 3 and 14 is the verse that talks about when Moses asked, who should I tell him to send me? The Most High says, tell him the I am that I am sent me. The Most High, that's his name. Ehyeh. But then in Deuteronomy, we know Deuteronomy 6 and 4, hear, O Israel, the Lord our Yah is one. Essence. Come on, go with me. But Paul doesn't use that word either. Paul uses, he could have used theotes to talk about, well, Yeshua just has the attributes. They're not really in him. He just displays them every now and then. That's not what Paul said. He could have used theotes. And he could have just been talking about the being or the essence. Paul doesn't use that one. Paul uses theotetos, which shows, guys, possession. It's in the genitive, remember? Possession. In other words, Yeshua didn't just have the attributes, or Paul was not just speaking of this essence that God has, but Paul is saying that this essence that the Father has, come on and go with me here, that the Most High has, is dwelling in Yeshua HaMashiach. And as a matter of fact, it's the same. Oh my goodness. And watch this. It's showing possession that Yeshua has it. Well, how long does he has it? Permanently. Oh man. See, that's when you really remove all the doctrinal, man-made doctrines, this phony, erroneous idea that no one needs to use called Trinity, because Paul didn't use it, Yeshua didn't use it, yet none of the disciples or apostles used it, and they still understood who Yeshua was, and this is why. In Mark 8 and 27, Yeshua had to check. Hold up. Slow up. Who do men say that I am? Do they know? Do they really know me? I want to ask y'all this. Do you really know who Yeshua is? Because if you really don't know who Yeshua is, how can you have faith that can move mountains? Come on and go with me here. How can you be, watch this, how can you learn to be content in whatsoever state you're in if you don't know within whom your faith is in? My goodness. Well, I'm going to go deep on you right now. How can you say you serve the true and living Yah when you don't attribute, as the scriptures do, the fullness of the deity dwelling in Yeshua bodily? Oh, I'm preaching. I'm teaching and preaching. I may hoop. No, I'm just playing. So let's check out Ezekiel. Because remember, we said these ideas, they go back to the Tanakh. Look at all my scriptures to the right of this chart. All Tanakh. We don't need the New Testament. We're grateful. But let me be clear. We don't need the New Testament to find out the true essence of who Yeshua is. Because Paul, John, Mark, all the other writers, Peter, they all agree with what the Tanakh teaches. So let's go to Ezekiel 128. Ezekiel chapter 1. Let me start in verse 26. And above the firmament that was over their heads. Oh man, oh man. You got to read this entire chapter. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. This has given you insight into the heavenlies. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man. Above, upon it. Who was Ezekiel seeing in this vision? Well, let's continue to read. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of a fire round about within it, from the appearance of his loins, even upward, and from the appearance of his loins, even downward. Who is his? And I saw, as it were, the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about. Verse 28, as the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud, and in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the, look at this word. Remember, we talked about what this word means? It goes back to Exodus 3 and 14, the Most High. It was like the glory of the Most High. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. Who is this individual that was speaking? Who is he? Okay, so we dealt with this. We just dealt with all of this. We looked at Romans 1:20. But I want to show you something, another study tool that you're going to need in your repertoire. You see this book right here, guys? I know it's kind of blurry. Hold on. You're going to need this. It's up on the screen. It's up on the screen. But you're going to need this book. Okay? And I want to show you what page I got this from. It's page 30. I didn't put it in the reference here, but I can do it right now. Oh, yes. You want to go to page 303 in this book. Okay? You want to go to page 303. And on this page, you're going to see something very interesting. Now, the question becomes, what are we even looking at? What are we looking at? Well, this is the text of the earliest New Testament Greek manuscripts. And within this book is very interesting. If you look to the right, Codex Sinaiticus, which was found near Mount Sinai, was a 4th century document which contains the verses as we have them today. Well, what verses? Colossians 2 and 9. So what we're doing, y'all, is this is called textual criticism. Okay? So Codex Sinaiticus contains, there was no, watch this, this passage essentially has been unchanged going all the way back to the 4th century. Codex Vaticanus, 4th century also. It matches the modern critical text that we're reading in our Bibles today. Codex Alexandrinus is a 5th century, no deviation from the Greek that we looked at earlier. Codex Ephraemi Rescriptus, another 5th century document, also preserves Colossians 2:9 as we read it today. And Codex Bezae, 5th century as well, maintains Colossians 2:9 as we read it today. Why am I telling you all this? Well, let's check this out. See, this is how you got to make sure that what's being said is legitimate. So we have Nessel, 1904, same reading. Same reading. We have Westcott and Hort, 1881, same reading. Okay, Westcott and Hort again. Then we have down here the Byzantine text. They found this one in 2005. Same reading. Same exact reading. We have the Tischendorf of the 8th century, going back to the 700s. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake here. It's not going back to the 700s. This is the 8th edition. Sorry. We have Scrivener's Textus Receptus, going back to 1894. And then we have Stephanus Textus Receptus, going back to 1550. Same, all of these texts preserves Colossians 2:9 in its same form. Now, you saw those dates. Now let me give you, this is going to blow you away. Because we have P46. Oh, we got P46. P46 goes all the way back to the 2nd century. The earliest copy, notice I said copy, the earliest copy of the original manuscript goes all the way back to 175. It's somewhere between 175 and 225 AD. Now watch this. So we got verse 9 right here. Holte. This is back 2nd century. Holte in auto, for in him katoike dwelleth panto pleroma, all the fullness, tes theotetos. Remember this tes theotetos in the genitive? So you would read it. Watch this. For in him dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. Same exact rendering all the way back to 175. That means that what we're reading in the text is actually what the scriptures teach that within Yeshua HaMashiach dwells the fullness of the deity, or the Most High Yah's essence is in Yeshua HaMashiach permanently from the day of birth. Are y'all with me? And so guys, I had to show you this because we get mixed up when it comes to understanding a clear reading of the text. And then I had the nerve to take you to this passage in Colossians chapter 1 and verse 16. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth. By who? By Yeshua HaMashiach. Now watch this. Yeshua says something very powerful. Remember we read the passage in Ezekiel? Remember Ezekiel's passage we read? Because I want to show you something back in Ezekiel. Ezekiel 1 and 28. I want to show you this really quick. He says, as the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of, watch this, of the doxa, the glory of the Lord. Again, of the Lord. Again, this Lord capital means the Most High. It was the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, when I saw this glory, I fell upon my face and I heard a voice of one that spake. Notice his glory. Watch this. Notice his glory. You see that? Let's go to John. Because this is going to bring out the essence of the difference between the role, the subordinate role of Yeshua, and Yeshua sharing the essence of the Most High. John 17 and verse 5. This is Yeshua praying in his subordinate role to the Father. This is why he say, and now, O Father, his subordinate role. Watch what he says. Glorify you, me. In other words, can you glorify me? He's asking, can you glorify me with thine own self? Watch this. With the glory which I had with thee. When? Before the world was. This is powerful. He's praying. He's asking the Father in his subordinate role to glorify me with the what? With the glory which I had with thee. I want you to reference this with Ezekiel 1 and 28. Glorify me. Who's saying this? Yeshua is asking the Father in his subordinate role on earth. I want you to watch this, even though he's in his subordinate role on earth, because why? He took on bodily flesh, somatikas. And in that role, he humbled himself. And in that role, he says, I will take a subordinate role to my Father to redeem man. But watch this. I haven't wasted one drip, 1 ounce of the fullness of the glory. And so now he says this, I want you now to glorify me. Listen, I don't want to be in this body anymore. I want to be glorified like I was when? Before the world was. So for those of you who think that Yeshua, excuse me, was not there at creation, you got issues with Colossians 1 and 16. You got issues with John 17 and 5, and a whole lot of other scriptures that teach that Yeshua HaMashiach is the most high in essence. My goodness. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Now, what does that mean for us? It simply means this, that we have the right faith, that we have the right Yah, that what we believe is true, that what we believe trumps Islam, it trumps Buddhism, it trumps every other ism, it trumps all the other religions. Every single religion must bow to the teachings of Yeshua HaMashiach. As a matter of fact, Islam in the 6th century, 600 years after, come on and go with me here, our scriptures, they agreed that our scriptures teach the truth. Now watch this. How can you have the truth and claim to be the original when you took what you believe from in our book and then claim that we had the original? Oh man. Guys, I just want to say this. Hold on. Don't listen. I don't care what you are praying for. If your faith is in Yeshua HaMashiach, he has the power to deliver. He has the power to heal. He has the power to bring abundance to you. Listen, Paul said, I've learned, and I didn't get a finish to say this, but Paul said, I have learned to be abased and I have learned to be abound. And watch this. Let me say something to you. There may be some people here tonight that have their faith in Yeshua HaMashiach, but because you don't recognize his deity, that he is the sovereign, that he is above all, that he is with his Father, Yeshua, he is with his Father in heaven as and sharing the same essence, that when you pray to him, he has the same authority. My goodness. To answer, to deliver, to heal your marriage, to take care of your mental confusion. He can bless you with whatever he needs to bless you with in order for you to continue to do his work. He is the Most High Yah. And watch this, the essence of the Most High Yah is in Yeshua permanently. Permanently. That means it was there before the world begins. It was there when he was born. It was there when he died. It was there when he rose again. And it's there right now. Blessings and shalom. Blessings and shalom. My goodness. My goodness. Oh, yes.